Come on, you piece of shit. Let's go. Yeah, hopefully no lagging tonight, right? Hey, how we doing, guys? TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. This is Hack Nation Live. I'm your host, Aaron Bennett. We do this every Wednesday night from 7 to 9 Central Time. We've managed to make every single show. So, anyway, guys, how we doing? How we doing? Good to see everybody. I see there's already callers. Kind of crazy, but here's what it is. Guys, the number to call. This is a call-centric show. It's not just a podcast like every other podcast. This show, you can call in, be part of the show. We highly encourage you to do that. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, it's a much more interactive experience over on if you're watching this on TikTok, it's a much more interactive experience over there on Facebook or YouTube. You can hear the caller a lot better over there and interact a lot better. So we encourage you to go over there. I'm going to turn this fan down a little bit. Maybe. And figure out how to work it. There we go. All right. That's not quite so loud. It might be from streaming multiple platforms at once. It might be because I have shitty internet, but I do see that they are slowly but surely getting fiber up our way. So hopefully in the next 4 or 5, 6 months, we will have fiber here. And I have fiber at my house. It's obviously astronomically faster than even Starlink. The Starlink on boat. I have Starlink on my boat. Down in Corpus, and it does really well. I mean, you could have somebody playing Call of Duty online. You could have 4 or 5 kids, watching Netflix or something, everybody playing on their phones. Or, the other day we went out, we had 15 people on the boat, and everybody had some kind of device. It's the age we live in, and it didn't slow down at all. We were underway. We weren't even static. We were actually moving. So I don't know why it's not working well at this shop. I just, we have a fixed static satellite dish. I bought the expensive version that's supposed to get prioritized and whatever. I guess I'm just cursed to not have good internet here. Tips and tricks for 60 series in frame. Any tip I would give you would just be in general for any overhaul. If any engine you're overhauling, cleanliness is the most important thing. If you get to looking in your manuals, whether it be Cummins or CAT or whatever, they will cite for an introduction of dirt, stuff like that, as being the number one cause of premature engine failure. In other words, your dirty dick skinners are the number one cause of premature engine failure. So the number one piece of advice I think any mechanic should be giving other mechanics, especially, if you're looked up to and you're being asked for your advice, that should always be the starting point, is really zero in on that cleanliness. People don't give it the credit that it deserves. When we got kids cutting when we have mechanics cutting their teeth here, that is always part of the testing ground, is we'll have them roll rods and mains, and I'll just kind of let them do it, and then we'll go back and look at them all, and it's every time we're like, okay, you got to pull all these out, we're going to clean them, we're going to do it again. We might have to reinstall them 4 or 5 times until we're accepting the cleanliness level of the rods and mains, and that's a good starting point to just drill it home. There can't be any dirt. There can't, you pull those mains out after you put them in, it looks like everything's clean, and once you pull them out, they're really dirty. You're like, holy shit, it really drives it home that you're not being as clean as you think you are. So anyway, guys, I do have one caller. We'll get to him here in a minute. The number to call in, guys, if you want to be a part of the show, is 573-422-4225. I am in talks with James from Trademark Trucking. He wants to come back on the show. Excalibur wants to come back on the show, and so does Charlie over at Pure Diesel Repair. So we're probably going to revisit those 3 guys Rob from Highway and Heavy Parts. I talked to him today. He wants to come back on the show. So starting next week, we're gonna probably do back-to-back guests for 4 weeks in a row. Just kind of get everybody back on. And until we find some new talent to bring on the show, we'll just revisit the other people. Your fan is cycling at 150 to 180 degrees. I mean, probably what's actually going on there is your, and this is a cat, where you're reading there in the cab is not where the ECM is reading. So your coolant's probably running much hotter than you think it is. The ECM is probably smarter than a dummy gauge. So anyway, guys, get the head of the EPA on the show. No thanks. Yeah, we do got new AC. I got a 2-ton mini split. We're having this company here that does mini splits for us for very reasonable. We've actually had them put one in our house and in our garage. So when we're working out, we don't die from heat stroke. And then I've had them do 3 or 4 here at the shop. And yeah, they're great. I'm curious, since you're not doing in frames anymore, what are out of frames starting at? Our out of frame price has always been pretty comparable to the in frame price. I think overall our labor charge is only about $2,000 more to do an out of frame versus an in frame. Where it starts to get more expensive is if you're having us remove and install. Obviously, if you bring us the engine, it's not a huge price difference. And the labor cost on an out of frame stays the same with us, irregardless. We don't change it no matter what we have to do. So it really going to cost you whatever you want it to, or you're going to, because we do out of frames where we basically just do an in frame. We've done several of those where the engine comes to us and we don't take the front and rear structure off. We just basically do an in frame, but it's not in the truck, and I still consider that something that we will do here, and for something like that, it's not going to cost it, not going to cost you any more than doing an in frame if it was in the truck. But your basic out of frame, just has a little bit more in labor. It really comes down to how much of it are you having us do. If you're bringing us an engine, no big deal. It's just a little bit more. And it's actually a better deal because we don't have additional charges. It's whatever you need to have done is already encompassed under that. So, if you were to run into problems, technically out of frames can be more cost effective than the in frames. The reason out of frames tend to get more expensive is because guys realize it doesn't matter what they do to them, the price doesn't change. So guys are like, well, I might as well do, this. I might as well do my oil cooler, oil pump, water pump, dampener, this, that, and the other. And oh, by the way, I want it painted, and and blah, 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 blah. And so they tend to get more expensive. Your out of frames here at this shop usually run in the high 20s, low 30s. That's the average price that we see for guys that are kind of just getting everything done. They're still very affordable. It's not like we're $50,000-$60,000 builds just to bring your engine here and have it out of frame done. So, it's not really a big change for us. It's a big change because we're going to get back all our square footage and we're just going to be able to do a better job and offer better service. And we're going to be able to break them in. We have an engine dyno. Can't wait to get that going. But anyway, guys, we're going to get to the phone lines. We got 3 calls. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'll get right over there. Bought a new 13-speed from Bennett. First trip out, and it's very noisy. Replaced with a new clutch kit. Noisy when accelerating and decelerating. Is that just tight being a new trans or something going on? No. What you guys, and this is my sons we're talking about here, and he's saying, his transmission's making noise when he takes off, when he slows down. He's asking, is that just because it's new, like it's trying to wear in or break in or something? No, man, there's probably something wrong. There's probably something wrong there. It doesn't matter if it came from my kids or if it came from Bob down the street. Doesn't change the fact that there's probably something wrong with it, right? I don't know if you got a new or a reman, but anyway, It shouldn't matter. My boys are really, really, really good about their warranty. I don't think anybody can touch how they treat warranties. So, and you just need to reach out to them for sure. At least get by there and have them take a look at it, or just see what's going on. Um, so anyway, Lou Delgado, when will your elite builds be equipped with your new proprietary head? We are debuting the cylinder head this Friday, guys. Our website is debuting this Friday. It's not going to have a lot of products on it. We're only going to I mean, we have a lot of products, but we're only going to debut ones that we think we can fulfill orders. And even on Friday when we release, if you made an order for a head, we think we're probably still 8 to 10 days out before we're going to be shipping heads. The company that is doing all of our professional coatings, they are working around the clock because they know that we're coming up against a deadline. They're trying to get a bunch of them as many done as they can. And then, we have another facility that's intaking all of that. And this facility is in-house. It is one of our companies here. And they're taking all that and they have to install those bushings, have to install all those in-canal intake and exhaust valves with the coatings on them. They got to install those springs. So it's quite the process, and all the isotropic finish items that we have coming out. We have a couple giant machines coming to do those things, 2 or 3 different machines on the way. In the meantime, we're using really small machines. So like it takes all day to do 20, 30 rods or, 20, 30 rocker shafts. So right out the gate, it's going to be pretty intense as we try to ramp up and roll into all this. Turbos, we're doing a little better on. I think we have 80 different types in stock. We did stock up quite a few turbos, and we have quite a few. We have a couple hundred more about to be done and put together. The kits themselves, the kits themselves are, well, we have 40 of them done. I'm so happy with them. I think I told you guys this before. We're hoping to resolve the issues I wasn't happy with, and quite frankly, the owner highway heavy parts, he wasn't exactly enthralled with the end product that we had either. So together, we kind of just, it's not really what we wanted to have either of our names on. So we're doing, just minor changes, but they're changes that are important to me because I want I want to deliver on what I promised. I don't want just throw whatever at it because we want to, it's not a money grab. It's not just get people these as fast as we can because people want them. I want to make sure that it's what I would want to own. That's the biggest thing. When I open it up, I think, man, if I was the end user on this, and I am going to be the end user on them, a lot of them, a couple hundred of them a year myself, is that really what I want to see? No, it's not really what I want to see. Let's make this so I'm just as excited as everybody else to open the box. So, we have a little delay on the kits. We're hoping to have all that resolved in the next week or two, and then they'll go up on the website finally, and we'll be rolling. We also have some really cool news coming up. I might hang on to that news, though, but we have a whole line of engine products coming out that are for the smaller engines as well. Like your C7 and under, your Perkins, your Yanmars, your Kubotas, all that kind of stuff. We're getting ready to release a coated product line for all of that kind of stuff, including your pickups like your 7.3s, 5.9s, and stuff of that nature. So pretty cool, man. Stay tuned. Do you have your own turbo? Yes, we do. What are the upsides to them? The upsides to our turbos are pretty simple. We use the same guys. I've been very forthright about all of our products. We use the same products that is the OEM supplier. Because especially with turbos, man, I don't want to deal with, we had all kinds of people send us prototypes. A lot of them were from overseas, of course. But and a lot of them were awesome, and we used some of them. We sold, or we gave some of them out. We did sell some. And a lot of them performed great, and they're very pleased. We're very pleased with them. But man, turbos are such a high warranty item in the first place. I didn't want to deal with it, man. Let's go with the OEM. So we're taking, the most tried and true turbos, which is like your Garrett's and your Borg Warners, and then we're buying the cores, and then we are taking housings that were coated with ceramic coating, which obviously is for thermal retention. And then we're putting our housings on the cores that we know are tried and true. And that's what we're going with for our turbos. What makes ours better? Well, there's ceramic coated. No different than the ceramic coated turbos that everybody has on their trucks these days, because they're just so much better, right? Whew. Anyway, a lot of callers. Let's go ahead and start taking them. We've made them sit long enough. We'll have to see how this goes here. All right. You're on the air. What can we do for you, brother?
Hey, Aaron, how you doing? It's good to talk to you. Thanks for taking the call.
Yeah.
Hey, now I got a couple extra questions. When are your injectors coming out for the 3406s and the C15s? Are they going to be released on your website on Friday?
No. No, they won't be released on Friday. There's still a lot of all the development's done on those. I've been asking the same question myself, every time we have a meeting. And the reply I keep getting back is, I mean, the whole key to all this is having new bodies, right? And so to have a new body is kind of unprecedented, because that is the injector, right? That's the part that nobody ever does. They're taking the old bodies, your reman, in other words, and they're putting all new stuff into that injector body, and nobody's ever doing new bodies. So these bodies have been around for 25, 30 years, and they've been remanned 75 different times. That's the difference, right? And I know that we've acquisition wise, the new bodies are there. I know they've been in testing for a couple of months, so I honestly don't know what is holding them up. I've been there, I've seen them, I've watched the testing on them. I've thought that they were good to go, but we'll have to see, right? I ask the same question every time we're in a meeting, like, where the fuck are the injectors? We could have debuted those by themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. All right, yeah. Another question I got two more questions real quick. I got a 3406E model. I run a bypass filtration system on it. Engine was rebuilt 300,000 miles ago. I ran conventional oil for 50,000 miles to, get a good break in. And then I switched to full synthetic, the Shell Rotella T6. I put the bypass filtration system. I change the bypass filters every 20,000 miles, and I run an oil analysis every 20,000 miles. All the numbers are still looking really good and everything. There's never been anything for concern. I've never done an oil change. I just add back the oil that I lose when I change the filters, which is about 2.5 gallons with the inline filter and my bypass filters. And about every 10,000 miles, I got to add a gallon anyway for what it's burning or whatever. But I remember you talking in one of your videos, or one of the times I've watched you, talking about how much better AMSOIL was. And since I'm using so little oil, is it worth going from the T6 Rotella to the AMSOIL to just make everything a little better? Or is it kind of, I mean, I'm getting good results with the T6. It seems like numbers from every oil analysis come back good. It's got good viscosity and all that stuff. I was just wondering what your thoughts, because I'm not using a whole lot of oil, because I don't do a full oil change, because the oil analysis always comes back so good. I was wondering about your thoughts on that.
Well, AMSOIL is a much better oil, right? I love T6. I love Rotella's products in general. But AMSOIL is a much, 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 much better product. Your T6 is made from base stocks, and from, what do they call that? They call that hydrocarbon cracking. And so that's how they make it a synthetic, I believe is how that works. But it's not a true synthetic, whereas like AMSOIL is made from natural gas. It's a vastly superior product, but you pay a premium for it. Really where you're getting your results, and everybody should pay attention to this, where you're getting those results is from that bypass filtration system. You guys have to understand that your regular filter, I don't give a fuck if it's cat or whatever. Oh, cat's filters, they're high, they're,
yeah.
yeah. That filter it's still only filtering down to 10 micron, I believe it is. And in fact, it might actually be 20. And I think your tolerance for your OEM filters is 40 micron, but you guys have to understand that it has to be that way because they are pumping high volume, and the volume they can only go so many microns small before you start to have oil pressure problems, right? So your bypass filter goes all the way down to 1 micron, and it's cycling 15 liters of oil in 4 hours versus it's doing 15 liters in 2 minutes, like your regular high pressure filter is. So when you're filtering your oil in a bypass filter, it's unprecedented what it does for the longevity, the viscosity of your oil, and more importantly, for the longevity of the engine. Guys, I will never own a diesel engine without a bypass filter. And in fact, it's kind of really cool that you called and brought this up because we made a decision at the beginning of this week that here really soon we're going to implement that all of our new builds come stock with the oil bypass filtration system that we're going to insist that you install when you put the engine on to have a valid warranty.
They are. I got it from Gulf Coast Filter. I can't. So initially, I did it was because the oil changes were costing me $650. The bypass filter cost $1,200, and I'm only adding back the oil that I remove, and it paid for itself at 60,000 miles off the savings from putting in another 11 gallons of oil every time. But since I've done that, I feel way more comfortable because when I buy it from Gulf Coast, he sends me an oil analysis bottle with every set of filters. So that oil analysis gives me just a huge peace of mind because the engine, it's talking to you through the oil. And so I know that nothing catastrophic is happening because I'm not seeing no crazy numbers. And it's just, I agree with you 100%. I'm not a huge gearhead. I can do quite a bit. I can run my overhead, do some stuff like that. I'm by no means do I consider myself a gearhead, but I would never, just like you said, I would never drive a semi truck without a bypass filtration system, and I would never do it, especially I'm an owner, especially without doing an analysis because you're just guessing, and it's not worth it. And one more quick question, and I'll let you get somebody else. I started getting a small exhaust leak at my manifold. I can't really tell if it's kind of so big, and I haven't tested it. I'm going to pull it all off when I get home next week. I actually talked to your son. He put in a new transmission for me. I had a 15 speed. He put in a 13 speed for me and redid my power divider. Great work. Everything's running perfect on that end. I know you were talking about them earlier. Couldn't have been happier with the level of service that they gave me. But I was, I texted them and said, hey, I need a manifold. You got some in stock and stuff. I was wondering if what they got there is that the PDIs or what's he selling? I probably should have just asked him, but I figured since I got you on the phone now, I'd ask you.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, I know it's not PDI. They have full tilt currently. I've switched to using a lot of PAI instead of full tilt here.
PAI, okay.
PAI is a pretty decent one. The price point's quite a bit better. Full tilt's fucking awesome. I don't want to take anything away from them. I've been using their products forever. They got an awesome manifold. The price point's not great on it. We're working hard to come out with our own manifold. I have done a bunch of prototype manifolds, and the part that we're not happy with, the coatings are great. The coatings are coming out great, and we've already put some on people's trucks. I gave a couple away and whatnot, and people, one guy is reporting, right out the gate, 200-degree cooler EGTs, which I was super pleased with. But the reason we haven't already released a manifold of our own is when we do the isotropic finish to it, which is what, basically you're polishing the inside, right? They're not coming out the way we want. They're not smooth enough. They're vastly better than stock, but it's not. I don't, when I hold them up next to a PAI one or a full tilt one, they're not as good. And so we're not going to release them. And, you know, obviously we're reaching out to the guys that supply our chemicals and our media and like, hey, and we sent them off a sample and they sent it back to us way better than what we were doing. Right. And they're like, okay, we think we figured out a combination. So we will have our own manifold soon. But, you know, I think Bennett Truck Center is doing full tilt, which you can't go wrong with that manifold, right? It's
Okay.
absolutely badass. The only thing, you know, it's kind of like Amsoil. You know, you can't go wrong with Amsoil, but goddamn, the price point's just not great. You know,
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm going to go ahead and switch because I'm not using so much. I may as well get the best for my engine and get the longevity out of it. I think the exhaust manifold, I can't tell if it's leaking where those two things couple. I don't know what it's called because again, I'm not a gearhead, but where, you know, it's 1 and 2 exhaust goes into 3 and 4. You know, it's got that joint there. It looks like it's either leaking there or it's coming out from the gasket. And I figured, well, if I got to pull it off, I got to change all the gaskets and sleeves. And then this manifold is, you know, I've heard a lot of times that they get small cracks in them. So if you're pulling it off, if I see anything like that, I'm probably going to need to replace the whole manifold too. So I figured I'd just kind of do it all at once and get it done and get it done right. And hopefully I don't have any issues with the studs. You know, it seems like a pretty straightforward job. So I just wanted to check up with you on that.
It is. It's a pretty straightforward job, but you know, one of my sons asked me, you know, my sons come here and everybody, you know, some people think that stuff's staged, but especially when my son, when you the boys here saying, "Hey, Dad," that's always off the cuff. He never he never lets me know what he's gonna say, right? And he was like,
Sure.
hey, Dad, what's the best thing I can get for my truck? You know, like what's the best bolt-on thing? And you know, my instinct was to say, you know, manifold and turbo, because it always has been, you know, for forever. It's always been the two bolt-on items that make the biggest difference to your truck. But really, if a guy had to pick, the manifold is it. The manifold is the best upgrade you can possibly do. If you have to pick, you know,
Okay.
if you're in a position where I got to pick one thing I'm going to do to my truck, what's the one thing I have to do to my truck? That's it. It's always going to be the manifold. Get the air moving.
Awesome. Well, hey, like I said, yeah, appreciate your videos, everything you do, man, and it really helps the small guys out like me. And you know, you got a hell of a. I've worked with Matt, got a hell of a boy over there getting shit done and doing it right. So thanks again. I'll step off and watch the rest of the show, and you have a good evening.
Yep. Have a good night, man. Thanks for the call. YouTubeism said too when we were talking about the bypass filters. Now, I do have a lot of experience with those spinners. I love them; they're great. I used to run. I never had a diesel engine that I did not install a spinner on, and they were all spinner twos, coincidentally. And I have a lot of experience with cleaning them and using them and all of that. But I do know for a fact from building engines for this long and from working with spinners and with bypass systems, the spinners are great. The bypass is better, vastly better. I mean, it's almost apples and oranges. A spinner is amazing if you don't have anything, but you know, I wouldn't spend money on a spinner. They're pretty expensive items. I would not buy a spinner over a bypass. No way. That bypass is way better. I want to try a steed speed is what it's called, I think. But yeah, those steed speeds are pretty badass. The manifolds, they're pretty badass. Mom and pop, you know, they're a mom and pop operation, so they don't always have a lot of inventory, but they do have a cool manifold. All right, back to the phones, guys. You're on the air, or what can we do for you?
Well, I probably should have called Iowa Heavy Parts, but I figured probably the next best thing in line there, right? So I bought a oil pump, and their pump is completely different than a cat pump, right? Look wise, I can't find any information on it, you know, about it online or anywhere. The little bolt, stud, plug, whatever it is, it's in the top of the pump. What is that for?
They're every day. I'm not recalling any way that they're different. They're identical in my recollection, anyway. And you got to remember, Highway and Heavy Parts doesn't manufacture pumps. So when you're buying a pump from them, you could be getting one made by McBee. You could be getting one made by PAI, CTP, Mimo. They're going to have a wide array of different pumps. You know, they do have their preferred vendors, but every vendor out there comes up short quite frequently. So at any given time, we might have 4 different brands of oil pump here, and they're pretty much all identical. And they're all identical to the OEM for all intents and purposes. So I'm not really sure what you're talking about.
So the top of it is, you know, machine finished, or I guess I should say the bottom.
Yep.
And there's a little quarter-inch bolt that's screwed right into the center of it.
Yeah. Yep. I know what you're talking about. What's the problem with that?
I was just wondering what it's for.
I'm not sure. I always just ignored it. I don't know, but it doesn't affect anything.
And then, do you know if they make any kind of a shim for the rocker shafts? You know, I guess on a wore out head, you know, where your bolts keep working loose, breaking all you know, for the rocker shaft itself.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Do you know if there's like a shim or something?
There is not, but that's a big problem, right? I know exactly what you're talking about. Really, the only fix for that is a new head and new rocker shafts. The rocker shafts are very reasonably priced. Obviously, the head's more exorbitant in the price, but for sure, there's not any fix for that, right? You're talking about where the rocker shafts wear into the seats in the head. And yes, you are correct. It will break studs. It's a very common problem that we see, and because guys will torque them down to spec, and once they do, you actually have a big bow in that rocker shaft, and it causes torsional fatigue, and they stress crack and break 100%. But there's really nothing you can do but change the head and the rocker shafts.
Well, crap. I guess that fixes that problem then.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty.
All right.
So, anyway.
That's all I had.
All right, sir. You have a good night, man.
You too. Bye.
Why? What happened? I can't hear myself anymore. Oh, okay. I hit the wrong button. Alrighty. We have 6 people on hold here. Guys, we're just into the first half hour here, so I'll give out the number. The number to call in if you want to be part of the show is 573-422-4225. If you want to be part of the show, there's 6 people on hold. We'll get right back to you guys. Let me look at the comments real quick. How high can I let my RPM go when going downhill fully loaded on a steep grade? I'm assuming you mean with your jakes on. It's really hard on them to go over 1700. Yeah, I mean, especially for a cat, you really want to keep it under 1600 if at all possible. I've had guys quite a few times stress crack, guys that were driving my trucks, stress crack rocker arms going downhill in taking it up above 1700. I had one driver do that. He was right behind me. We were coming down the backside of Gobbler's Knob, and he busted 3 rocker arms coming down behind me. And boy, I could hear it. I immediately started winding her down, trying to pull over. I knew something was wrong. I figured that engine had thrown a rod or something, but You can, really anything up there in the 17, 18, 1900 RPM range is really, really hard on them, and you're running the risk of fracturing them. And really, guys, if you ever break a rocker arm from jaking off too high, you really need to, if your budget allows for it, you really should just change all of the Jake rockers right then and there, because they get stress cracked and you'll go for 3 or 4 months and another one will just break, even though you're not even doing anything stressful. It just finally gives out, and you might end up dealing with that, time and again, be stuck on the side of the road while you're trying to figure it out. Just a little, ask me how I know type deal. But anyway, sorry, I'm just reading some comments here. But let's go ahead and get back to the calls, I guess. Somebody's talking about how their fuel tanks are getting really hot on an N14. Everybody's fuel tanks are going to get hot unless they have like an old B model or something that doesn't return hot necessarily, because the fuel is what is cooling that part of the cylinder head, and it's returning back to the fuel tank incredibly hot. So your tanks are going to get incredibly hot. Anyway, you're on the air. What can we do for you, brother or sister, whatever we are?
Yes. How you doing?
Good, man. Hit me with it.
Hello. Yeah. I just had a quick question. I was watching one of your videos, and I seen where you had took a 6NZ, and you took a 6NZ, and I think it was hurt, and you took like a 5 EK or something like that, and then you swapped it out, and you put the 5 EK in there, but you did the mods for the water line to run in the back of the cylinders and stuff like that. So my question was, I got a 5 EK, but I don't have no harness or nothing for it right now. So I was just but I wanted to go like a 70 pin. I was trying to see like what are the requirements for a 70 pin on the 5 EK engine.
Well, you can't do a 70 pin. You'll have a 70 pin tune to go with that for your 5 EK. Now you can convert that. You can use that block to technically build a 6NZ. Your front and rear structures are different. You'd have to get a different, at bare minimum, you'd have to get a different front structure. I'm not 100% sure you'd have to do the rear structure, but yeah, I think you'd want to do the rear structure too, because you have a paper gasket on the 5 EK. So you'd have to do front and rear structure, or your oil pan wouldn't match up. You would need the front structure because your 70 pin reads timing in 2 different spots, your crank and your cam. Your old 5 EK 40 pin only reads off the cam gear. So what you're talking about is feasible in some aspects, but not the way that you described it. It's not feasible. You're not just going to take your 5 EK and make it and put a 70 pin ECM to it. That's not how it works. So I guess I need more clarification on what you're trying to do. I mean, if you're just like, hey, I have a 6NZ, I got a hole in the side of the block, can I use my old 5 EK block? The answer to that's yeah, you could make that happen. It would take some finagling and this and that, but it can be done, right?
Right, I got you. So you basically saying, like with the 6NZ, you'll be able to take the front structure off and put it on the 5 EK, and then just make the adjustments with the timing and stuff like that, basically.
I'm not sure if I said what you just said, but sounds right, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
Right.
I don't understand why you'd want to do that anyway. Why wouldn't you just leave your 5 EK 5 EK? What's wrong with that? What? So
I kind of want to go with a.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You kind of want to go with a what?
I'm trying to basically I'm trying to run ELD, and I've been told that some people telling me that you can't run it with a 40 pin, so that's why. And I don't actually have everything. Like pretty much I got like almost like a loan block, so I'll be buying stuff anyway. So that's why I was like, if I buy it, I might as well, go to 710. That's what I was trying to see.
I think you're going to be buying a hell of a lot more than you think you will. Hell of a lot more. And there are programs out there. There's stuff out there that you can run an ELD and not, off of that 40 pin. I would look into that rather than I'm 100% positive your ELD can work with a 40 pin. Guys are just able to use it as an excuse, and when they're trying to go the other way, use it as an excuse not to run an ELD. But I'm 100% positive it is something you can do. All right, brother.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate it. Just a time.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, man. And good luck. Oh, he hung up. Well, good night, brother. It's going to be a large project to custom build what you want. Yeah. American Iron says it's going to be a way bigger project than he's thinking. That is a fact. It is doable, 100% doable. But man, there's a lot there. Right to the front gear. He's gonna have to rip that gear off the crank, and but believe it or not, the cranks are the same, just the gear's different. But anyway. All right, back to the calls. We got quite a few, and they keep stacking up. This happens to us every time, but it is a call-in show, so I guess I can't bitch about that. You're on the air. What can we do for you?
Hi there. I was just kind of calling in. I got a couple N14s. I've been having some head gasket issues. All different reasoning, but I got basically first question I had. I got a Select Plus N14, and I basically had a coolant dripping. The crossover tube was dripping down, and it ate up the top of my block. It measured it as like 28 thousandths ate off. I'm pretty sure. I didn't know if you would be able to align bore that and deck it, if that was a savable block or not.
What?
Kind of my first question with that thing.
Hang on. What happened to it?
So the crossover tubes for the coolant on the whatever it goes across the, the rocker boxes or whatever. Or right. So for the N14 or the coolant goes across the tubes to go between the heads.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so anyway, that was leaking when it would start it up, and it would leak for a few minutes. But long story short, I was changing my coolant filter, and I was running red coolant. I didn't know, wasn't well informed that the green, that had the green additive in it. I guess didn't know, and I kept changing the filters. Well, I kept eating my rubber O-rings and all that stuff, and I kept fighting O-rings and rubber, everything on it would just start leaking, and I was getting fed up with it. But anyway, it was basically drying up after like a minute or two of running. Well, anyway, it blew the head gasket. I checked the counter bores; they were all at 6 thousandths, and then I realized the block was 8 away from the coolant dripping down. And then there's a valley there where the coolant was dripping, and you measured the worst of it was 28 thousandths was 8 off the block.
And you're
not necessarily where the head perfectly.
You're asking if a machine shop can fix that? The answer is probably.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm wanting you guys to do. I'm wanting to get that block sent down and have you guys do. I don't know if do you guys do elite builds on N14s yet?
Yeah, of course. It's fully transferable. What we do.
Okay.
We've been doing a performance build on N14 for a long time. We haven't done very many recently. I think we've done 2 this year. We obviously made TikToks about those, but most guys with
I see from time to time.
Most guys with N14s are older guys that just want the longevity build done. But we do a performance build on them. And so anything that is a performance build here can be an elite build, no problem.
Okay, do they have gap Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Do you guys, do they have gapless rings and speed of air pistons for N14s yet?
Well, nobody has gapless rings for anything, because they're, I mean, the ones that we had developed and made are the only ones in existence. So there is no they.
Oh,
There's just me.
I guess you guys then. Yeah. You guys have a gapless ring in the works or have one for N14 yet?
No, I decided to drop development on those until we can get to the point where we're financially able to go with, do all the testing with the EPA and figure all that out. Because I just don't want to deal with the negative connotations if they decide to try to come shit on me. While this administration's in office, it's very unlikely. And the scale that we get them at makes it very unlikely, and the fact that we're only selling them to people for off-road use and all that, but you can only get away with so much of that before they say, well, you had to have known at some point that people were starting to put them in trucks. So I just, I had my lawyers look at it. My lawyers are like, well, you should probably just chill out on making these until we can get them tested and all that. It's about $100,000 that you got to pay to have them tested. And so
Oh, wow.
once my dyno's up and running and I test them myself and I have a 5-gas dyno, I'll be able to see and make sure that they actually make better emissions, which we already know they're going to, because, there's all kinds of testings already done on gapless rings and all the other applications, your medium duty and light duty and racing and blah, 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 blah. So, and Speed Air got them approved for medium duty. So it's obvious that they'll get approved for heavy duty. Somebody just has to spend the money, right? Well, I'm not in a position right now or highly motivated to spend the money to do that. So the 80 sets I got, when they're gone until we can do a full development of them, because I just don't want to deal with the bullshit.
Oh, I totally get that. I just was, trying to make this as basically efficient, as possible if I was going to go do it. I didn't know. Do you have any idea what a price range is for an elite build or even a performance build or durability build for an N14? Like, if it needs the block out of frame, if the block needed decked and line board and all that good stuff. And I imagine that's balancing you guys balance the rotating assembly and all that with that too. I'm not super familiar with how you categorize it, but I'm just trying to build one and do it right.
I'll run it down for you really quick. The way that we're doing our builds now is everything that we touch starts out at the longevity, even, and we're trying to implement that even for people that are just bringing us their stuff. Everything starts out with the longevity. So in other words, every build here from now on has coated pistons. And so a longevity build is what we consider a stock build. And it's going to be just like if you had it built anywhere in the United States, only ours will come with ceramic coated pistons, Teflon rods and mains, and Teflon skirts if applicable. And if you're using our turbos and manifolds, even if they're stock, they are ceramic coated manifolds and turbos. That's what we consider a longevity build. Our performance build is everything that I just mentioned, but we upgrade the turbo to a performance turbo, upgrade the manifold to a performance manifold. We're going to be doing flow matched injectors. We'll get rid of the skirted pistons. We'll do a monotherm or friction welded pistons. And so we will upgrade it and we'll put more we'll put more horsepower to it. Then if you want to go one step further and go with our elite build, it's obviously all those other aforementioned things. But we take it one step further and we give you the intake and exhaust stage 3 head. And we're going to have the coated cam bushings. We're going to have the coated valves. We're going to have the isotropic finished springs, get rid of all the parasitic load. And then the entire rotating assembly gets sent off and balanced to within less than 1 gram. And then your wrist pins, rocker shafts, any of the moving parts get isotropic super finish. The rods get super finish. That way we have no parasitic load at all. And that's what we would consider an elite build.
See, and the isotropic and the balancing, I feel like would be really beneficial on the N14. I don't know what it. I've ran a lot of big cams, and I feel like they're just so more well balanced than an N14. I don't know if that's just in my head or what, but I really the way a big cam runs and idles and the way it is, they're just really good, especially if you got a good set of injectors in and all that good stuff. And I run, I'm really happy with the way my N14's running, but I'm just like, I feel like, they're kind of a higher RPM engine than a lot of them. I try to run them, around 1650, and I figured the isotropic, the finish would probably help if they're just like more RPMs. It sounds like that's kind of the benefit of that process from my understanding anyway. I mean, I could be wrong.
So
but
the benefits of isotropic finishing are reduces surface tension, which makes the part stronger.
Mhm.
You can you can do some research on that for yourself, but it makes the part substantially stronger, and more more hardy, more resistant. And then for the performance side, it gets rid of all the parasitic load. So you can imagine you have 6 wrist pins, for example, and all of those wrist pins are adding parasitic load. And if you were to get rid of that parasitic load, obviously everything's going to run smoother, and that's going to transfer over. We're not, like I said in one of my videos a little bit ago, you're not going to throw our rocker shafts and wrist pins in and then go to the track because you had such an awesome performance enhancement. It's not how it works. Over 1 million miles,
no.
over 1 million miles, you might put $30,000 back into your pocket in fuel savings, and
Yes, exactly.
which transfers the horsepower and longevity of the part, right? So my goal from the very beginning has always been to be in this position where we can build 1 million mile engines again out of any platform that outperform all the rest of them on the market. And I don't mean I'm the first one to the top of the hill no matter what. There's going to be people that put 800 horsepower to their shit and get to the top first. We could care less. We want to get to the top before most people, and we want to do it 1,000,001 times.
Yep, 100%. That's where I'm at. I mean, I just want to run a stock file. I'm not in it, 5 1/4 file and all that. I just I want to run. I've heard the 2025 CPL is far superior, but I don't know how you guys do change timing and all that when you do if you guys do the timing or if you can change it, compare, on a Select Plus, if that's beneficial or not. I know you got to change injectors.
Pretty much every single N14 that has ever left this shop that was an out of frame left here is a 25-25. We changed the timing.
Okay. Yep. And then do you guys, I have a mechanical N14 that I got all 2025 or 2592, whatever you want to call it, steel pistons in it and all that. And I had a horrible flywheel vibration, and my counterboards walked within 100,000 miles, and it was probably a little over 5 1/4 horsepower. I mean, I want to admit that it didn't run good, but I feel like that I don't know why the protrusion was perfect on them, and they were clearly walking in 100,000 miles. It's a low mileage block, and I think it was probably the flywheel vibration that the dowel pins weren't in my flywheel. Come to find out, my flywheel housing, and it caused a bunch of issues. But do you guys do like timing on mechanical N14s and all that too?
Oh yeah, of course. We build them, so we have to.
Okay. Yep. It's hard to find guys that do that stuff. And I run older trucks. I got an 87 359. I got an 80 W9A model. I'm running a 9400. It's kind of like a go-to. And I'm just one guy. I just like my spares. I like to do my own work and do it with my own time. But, sometimes it all kind of stacks up. I basically had a bunch of head gasket issues all in one time. So I just was, I'm really liking what you're doing. I'm impressed by it. And it seems like you've got a very good value, and that's what I appreciate. And, I'm sure all the guys out here who really, it brings a lot of light, because I've learned to work on my stuff, and I learned on 855s in general, just because who do you take it to and who do you trust? So, it's really, sobering to see that you guys are doing good work like that. It's really, it's awesome. And that's why I'm just trying to get it in. I know you guys are super busy, just trying to, what a ballpark is on price and stuff. But, I'm sure you guys will get to me eventually. I called a couple times, but I know you guys I'm sure your phones are off the hook all the time. So,
yeah, one thing you can do there, and it's pretty sad that so many people say they can't get a hold of us, because there's 2 people here that answer the phone around the clock, and they're never not on the phone. And it's unbelievable how many people call us. It's unprecedented. But I believe if you listen to their whole message, they tell you a number that you can text, and if you text them, they'll get back
Yes.
to you. So I don't know if you've ever texted them before.
Yep. Yeah, so I got a text, and it's been a couple days. I replied what I wanted, and it was a pretty long list of stuff, and I'm sure it's just a lot for them. No, and I totally get it, but I'm just trying to see where I'm at and all that, and I don't get to be in good time. I'm just seeing where we're at. What is that? What's your typical out of frame? Like, let's just call it a performance build or whatever. Is it usually you guys like 4 weeks out at this point, or is it even hard to say at this point?
I mean, it's hard to say, but we sell a lot of engines, and we're trying to get to the point where we have engines for sale when you call. Like we're hoping within 90 to 120 days that when you call, you can pretty much pick any engine. We'll already have it for sale. And we've been trying to get to that point, but our engines sell faster than we could fucking build them. It's ridiculous. I'm hoping once I turn the in-frame manpower.
I can imagine.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the girls were telling me we sold like 18 engines in 28 days or something. Was the last statistic that I mean, that's ridiculous, and that has nothing to do with all the other engines we're doing for everybody. But I would say the average time that we expect, if you're not on a wait. So part of the problem is it takes us so long to get to people's engines. And so once we make this transition over, we're hoping that it's a 3-week turnaround for anybody that brings an engine here. That's part of our goal. We want to have a 3-week turnaround for everybody.
That's awesome. That really is. That's reasonable. And I don't know. And I know you guys get busy, and I'm sure machining and all that adds to the process, but that's just kind of where I'm at with it. I'm just trying to see what that's the biggest thing. I start getting busy this time of year. And one last question. I wanted your opinion, I guess kind of 2 here, but I'll just let you get on to other guys. But I have a stage 2 turbo from Momentum Works. Would you guys ceramic coat that turbo? It's like basically new, or do you guys not like doing that? And then what do you guys think of switchblade turbos? That's my other question for you. That'll be it for me.
I don't know. I've never used one. Right this minute, we have been coating a lot of parts for people that just bring them here. It's not extra, especially what we want to be doing, but is what it is. What we really don't like doing, which we've done for a lot of in-house guys, including actually today, we took manifolds and turbos off of X15, and we ceramic coated all of that. Now I don't like doing that. And I actually told the girls to stop letting people talk them into offering that service, because it's not a service we offer. It's just, people call, and the girls in the office, they're about making sales to people, right? Like, oh yeah, we'll do that for you. And I'm like, well, why don't you come out here and spend the extra 8 hours it takes to, you got to think about how meticulously clean these have to be. So for every part that gets any kind of coating, it has to go into an acid bath. That's going to ensure no contamination of any kind. We got to make sure there's no oil soaked into that cast, especially if it's cast metal. You can have oil that you could brake clean all day long and it won't come out of there. So these things go into an acid bath. Once they come out of the acid bath, they get washed, or they go into a sandblaster and they get blasted with aluminum oxide. When we're done with the aluminum oxide, then they get usually get bathed again. Then they come into the sterile room. When they're in the sterile room, everything gets washed with acetone, maybe a couple times, many times we think it needs. And then only after all of that process, then we move on to prepping them for coating. And, then they get coated, then they go in the oven, and blah, 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 blah. But when you're having to clean this used part, I could get 15 of them done in the same amount of time, and you can only charge so much.
I understand. Yep.
So, it's really something that the girls shouldn't be offering to people, just because, we can't get that everybody as it is. So they got to stop adding stuff, for the girls, they're all about accommodating customers and making sales and stuff like that. So.
Oh, I totally understand, and that just, and maybe it's just worth selling that turbo is what it is, a good turbo and doing it if that's what you want to do. But I guess it's just for the guy to decide. I was just curious, and I totally get it why you wouldn't want to mess with the time. You got so much going on already, so no, I totally get that for sure. So no, I appreciate your time, and I guess one more before I head out. What do you think of those PAI performance kits? Like I see they claim that they are better, but materials for cooling, and I don't know. It appears they have a full steel piston for an N14, which I don't think they make, but I don't know. I just seen that and I was kind of intrigued my interest, but I was just, I don't know a whole lot about it. I don't know if you messed with it or not.
IPD or PDA or PAI?
PAI, sorry.
Yeah, PAI, they, I don't know if they have a performance kit for the N14. I think IPD does. PAI makes...
It might be one or the other. I could have it messed up.
Right. I think IPD makes a steel crown for those. So we use a lot of IPD here. We use a lot of IPD for exactly that reason. So like B models, I'm going to use an IPD every time. There's a lot of specialty applications where we're using IPD. There's 3 IPD kits in the shop right now. They're all waiting for different applications. And they're all because we were after that steel crown, right? So you're probably thinking IPD.
Mm-hmm.
IPD would be my guess. I don't.
Yep.
I don't personally think IPD's got like this amazingly special product. Any more than anybody
Mm-hmm.
else. I think they all have really good stuff, but they do have a niche. I mean, the fact that they offer steel pistons for like B models and all that kind of stuff. So it makes them, if you're working on that particular thing, they're the go-to, right?
Oh, for sure. Yep. No, that was just, I don't know a whole lot about, I haven't messed with it enough, but I figured I don't know if there's anything more, anything better about it than anybody else, but it just kind of intrigued my interest. I'm always looking for I like what you guys are doing with stuff, to make something more efficient and last a little longer is always my goal, in the process of it. But but I appreciate your time. And, I think that's everything I pretty much got for questions for now. So.
All right, man, you have a good night. I'm going to move on to somebody else. We got quite a few people on hold. I appreciate the call though. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks.
All right. Sorry to everybody on hold. That was a 12-minute call, but it was a fun call. It was a good call. So yeah, the internet's working much better. I did reset the internet right before the show. I thought, well, maybe that will help out. And it sure seems to. I don't have the little icon popping up saying your internet's shitty like I get all the time. What oil bypass filtration system do you recommend? I don't have a recommendation yet, because I don't have a lot of experience with them other than seeing them come in here, changing the filters, messing with them, this and that. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to go with the AMSOIL one. It seems like it's very user friendly. I've messed with a lot of them. That's one of the problems I have with a lot of them is they're not all user friendly. And the AMSOIL one seems to just be a spin-on filter, just like your regular old cat filter or Cummins filter, or anything else. So that's where I'm planning on going. So anyway, will I have to do any tuning if I buy the PDI intake for my ISX? No, you won't have to do any tuning. Full tilt and PDI, either one of those guys on those intakes for those ISXs, they do not require any special tuning. They are emission compliant parts. So back to the callers. You're on the air, man. What can we do for you?
Hey, so I hear me? Sure you can.
Yeah. Come on with it.
So I bought a truck and went to pick it up, and it dropped a valve right away.
Okay.
What rebuild do you think I should go with?
Well, my first question would be, why did it drop a valve right away? Was it recently rebuilt? You just got super unlucky? You bought a truck, or
So
what's going on?
my brother owned it, and then he sold it to a guy who had it for like 18 months, and then he wanted just to be done with trucking, so he sold his whole trucking company and everything. So it's not like he sold it for because there was something wrong with it. Went to start it to leave the dealership to bring it home, and after about 3 seconds idling, it dropped a valve in the parking lot. But it
Oh, that
ran fine
yeah,
beforehand.
yeah, they got something in the intake, 100%. That was done at the dealership. I would say the same thing if it happened here at my shop. You guys got to understand that. I try really hard not to just like throw people under the bus blatantly. But
Well, because like
if you
I
bought,
drove it to the dealership for him,
right, I
and
understand.
then bought it through the dealership because the
Oh,
same day.
Well, if it was worked on, I mean, was it worked on right before you bought it, or right before this happened?
Turbo, I think
Yeah,
1,000 miles ago.
yeah, something with the turbo. That is that is something that was overlooked, missed, or introduced by installation. Is why you have a drop valve. Something got caught in between the cylinder head and the valve. And I would say the same thing
Gotcha.
if it happened here. So what you're looking at is one rod, one piston, probably the liner in a cylinder head. So, I mean, if you want to do bare minimum, you're just going to do one jug in a cylinder head.
Yeah, and the guy I got the loan through with the bank, he said just go ahead and do the whole engine and be over with it and done with it.
And right, he didn't have to spend the money.
I think
I mean, it's his money, yeah, but you have to pay it back. So why would he give a fuck, right? But
yeah,
sure, go ahead and do the whole thing, right? But you know, if you guys flash back to, you know, and I've gotten a lot of hate over the years on the internet for, you know, doing videos of doing just a jug or you know, doing budget builds or whatever else. But you guys flash back to 20 or 30 years ago or whatever. You know, that used to be the norm. I mean, all of your specs have all these reuse and you know, they everything has all these reuse guidelines. And that's because back in the day, everybody reused absolutely as much as they possibly could. You know, when I was doing trucking, I had several trucks that had they were on their third overhaul, but the same pistons in them on their third overhaul. You get what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean, it's not that old of an engine. It was a reman from Cummins when my brother had it like 4 years ago, and it was like 280 on the motor altogether.
Yeah, man. Just do the
So
one.
it's not a very old motor.
Right. Just do the one hole and rock out.
Do you know why it would be an 871 motor with an 870 ECM?
Because there's a lot of overlap there.
Okay, I wasn't sure. It's an 09, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't know the finer stuff of when they did this or when they did that, but that's not super unusual, I wouldn't think. I mean, it's certainly not a big deal.
Okay, it runs. It did run, I should say. No, I don't know. I thought about just doing the one cylinder and calling her good because the rest of the engine doesn't have a lot of life on it.
Yeah, man, those are all personal preferences. They come down to your budget. They come down to all that kind of stuff. No one can advise you on that, you know. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure whatever shop you're going to find has never heard of doing anything other than just overhauling everything. So I wouldn't worry about it. You're probably going to get talked into just overhauling the whole fucking thing anyway. So it kind of is what it is.
And do you think I should change the head? Because they said that the Cummins heads get hot on cylinder 5. Is there anything that changes that?
You don't have a choice. You have a drop valve.
Yeah, but like going from a genuine Cummins to like a highway heavy head or something else different.
I would use a genuine Cummins head if you gave it to me for fucking free.
So there, what should I put on there if it was you?
The problem is, brother, it's not really a problem, is everybody out there is, no matter what lipstick they put on it, is using pretty much the same cylinder head. I recently found out that ATL, because they corrected me, is no longer using Jarrah heads, but they did for years like everybody else, and they found some other brand. It's still not made in the United States. It's still an overseas brand. That they think is a better head, and that's okay. They think it's a better head, but I don't know that it is or that it isn't. What I do know is that Jarrah has proven to be the best head in the industry over and over and over again. So, I personally, Jarrah, have 5% more nickel, 30% bigger cooling channel. The only drawback of a Jarrah head, if you were just going to buy one from Jarrah, is you have the valves that are in it are not Inconel, but everybody, and I mean fucking everybody, changes them to American-made Inconel valves. Everybody. So it kind of doesn't matter who you buy it from. It just really doesn't. I would worry more about the service you're going to get and whether it's going to get stood behind. If there is a problem, that's why I go with highway and heavy parts, personally. And not everybody's had that experience, but most people agree that that is the experience that you get from them.
Gotcha. Mark that. Yeah, I guess I got pretty unfortunate with this truck. Didn't even leave the dealership, so.
Yeah, that sucks. But you know what you got to do, man. We got to move on. Though we got a lot of callers here, so good luck with that one. I wish you the best. It's really not that catastrophic. Don't let whatever shop you take it to turn it into more than it is. That would be my one piece of advice to you.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yep. Have a good night.
You too, man.
I do appreciate everybody that's on hold. There's quite a few people. I appreciate you waiting. These calls have all been taking quite a bit of time. We are into the second hour already. We're going to start ripping into these phone calls here. We're going to just stick with it. A lot of interesting stuff going on in the comment section, but like always, the callers are taking the priority. You're on the air, brother. What can we do for you?
I have a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
You hear me? Yeah, I have a 12.7 Detroit engine, and I have a million miles on it. Whenever I turn on the AC, it has a smoke coming out the breather. And I believe the time coming out, renewed it, yeah? Engine. Overhaul.
Did you say
every
time you turn on the AC, you have blow by?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Has a lot of smoke coming up the breather on the bottom.
I just
as a 12.7 Detroit.
I don't know how it could be related to the AC, but neither here nor there. I mean, here's the thing about the Detroit is a lot of guys like to make jokes about the Detroit. If it's doesn't have a bunch of blow by, if it's not putting oil on the ground, then it's not running right or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the 12.7 is the 12.7 can be pretty fucked up and it can keep going, but it doesn't change the fact that they get just as fucked up as the rest of the engines. They just tend to go longer while fucked up than other engines do. And but a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're way smaller. They're a 12.7. They just have a lot less wear and tear and a lot less pressures and stuff like that. So they tend to last a little longer when they're really fucked up. When you have broken rings and wiped out liners and stuff like that, they're just not seeing the same wear and tear that the bigger engines are. That's the real reason that they tend to have this reputation for lasting, despite the fact that they're pretty blown up. But yes, the symptoms that you're describing are the same for any blown up engine. And
Hmm.
you know, if you don't address it, it ultimately ends up with a rod out the side of the block and a much bigger bill.
And that's it. Yeah, I'm watching you all the time. That's why, you know, I just calling the shop a couple times. I can hear you.
I haven't said anything. You're talking. I'm listening to you.
Oh, I didn't hear it. That's what happened. So sorry. And thank you very much. Actually, I just called the shop a couple times. I have to bring. I live in Florida, and in Detroit did a million miles ago, and overhaul on my engine. And then I love this 12.7 engine. Actually, I'm almost a 27 on the trucking business. I'm owner of her.
And did you
I have to bring it to you on the shop.
Go ahead.
Your shop, actually, San Antonio. I have to bring him to you. Do the overhaul for me, please.
Have you been able to get a hold of anybody?
No, because I did before Detroit a million mile ago, actually.
Okay. Well, do you know the number to the shop?
I know. I called them before. I talked to the girl, I believe your wife. I believe that. And huh? I'm sorry.
I'm not saying anything, brother. I'm listening to you, but I just wanted to make sure you. A lot of people say they have a hard time getting a hold of us. I just wanted to make sure you got a hold of somebody. But yeah, that's the route to go. The girls, you know, our protocol here is to try and figure out what you got going on and give you a quote. And we try to do whatever we can to avoid.
Okay.
Our goal is to avoid you coming here and then when you leave, it's 10,000 more than you thought it was going to be, and fuck yourself if you want your truck back or your engine back or whatever, right? So the place to start is for us to give you a quote, and we want to quote you accurately enough that you know we hope for you to leave here for the same thing we told you up front. Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly.
So, all right, brother. Well, you good luck with that one, and
Thank you very much.
Maybe we'll see you in the future.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yep. Bye. How we doing tonight, guys? How we doing tonight? See Diesel Beast back. I haven't seen you much in the last couple shows. I don't know. I thought maybe you'd abandoned me, but see you're back. James Daniel up in the comment section. I asked James to come on the show. He said he'll come back on. We'll have him back on again. That should be an exciting time for you PACCAR lovers. All three of you PACCAR lovers in the United States. We'll have James back on soon. Just messing with you. Anyway, all right, back to the callers. There's 6 of you on hold. You guys are champions. You guys have been hanging on for a minute. We'll just keep ripping at you here. You're on the air. What can we do for you?
Hey, how you doing this evening?
Wonderful.
I got a 3406B. I rebuilt it the first of last year and put a PAI kit in it. And I went from 350 horse to 4 1/4, but all 6 new cat injectors, new turbo, had the pump rebuilt, la. Anyways, my long story short, I rebuilt it 4 times last year. And last time I rebuilt, I put an IPD kit in it, but my exhaust temperature, I just cannot get them down below 950 bobtail. And somebody was saying that turbo might be too big and the intake might not be letting enough air through it. I've had it to the guy the place that rebuilt the injector pump, and they've looked at it and they can't figure it out. Didn't know what your thoughts might be on that.
I mean, do you want to know my thoughts? Is that what you're? Yeah, I mean, what? I didn't really.
Yeah.
So here, I have to put together what you said here. You had a low horsepower B model that you turned into a high horsepower B model, and now you've rebuilt it 4 times. So if I'm gonna sit here and put the pieces of that puzzle together, the pieces of that puzzle say whoever did your tuning and timing and turning your fuel up and all that did you a grave disservice, and this thing's not going to stay together. I don't think it's because you had the wrong turbo on it. I don't think it's because you didn't have the right piston crown. I think your whole entire combination isn't well thought out, and your timing's messed up, and you're not getting the air to fuel ratio that you should be, and you need to go back to the beginning and have all that done right. You know, so like when we do B models, we're doing 2 of them right now, and they're both performance B models. They're both going to leave here around 600 horsepower. And then what we do is we tune the pump. We have the pump tune, and then we build the engine to the tune rather than, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, I have a lot of experience with B models, and so does my brother-in-law. We're 2 of the few last people in the United States that work on them. I'm not saying there's nobody left, but there's not a lot, and not a lot of guys that understand how they work.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now from what you've described that your problems are just beginning. It doesn't matter what you do to this thing. This is going to keep happening. There's no combination of turbo or anything else that's going to fix this for you.
Yeah. Well, I drove this motor was in another truck, and it had more power as a 350 than as a 4 1/4. And I mean, pretty much same gear ratio between the two. So I know that's, you know, not an issue there, but it just, I say 4 times. I shouldn't really say 4 times. I think the first time it was the injector pump was out of time, and they retimed it. It burned a hole in the piston. The other 2 was mechanical failure. The people that done the head didn't get the keepers on the valve on number 1 cylinder all the way or whatever, and they popped off within 200 miles and took out 2 cylinders. So I just counted it as the real issue was like I said, it burned a hole in number 4 piston. Then the first go around, and the timing was out. They adjusted the timing, but it's never had no power. It's always seemed like it's struggling, and then the exhaust temperature had just, you know, so high. And the people that built the pump, I had them set it. I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. Y'all set it to where it needs to be. And, you know, here we are with this exhaust temperature so high.
Yeah, your pump, whoever messed with your pump is what's caused all your problems. They didn't know what they were doing. And you're fueling way too hard for what you have set up. You're burning holes in pistons, brother.
Yeah.
That's what.
Well, I ain't burnt no more holes in pistons. Just last time it blew a head gasket.
So last time it blew a head gasket, you know, same thing, right? So you got to, right back to what I said a minute ago. You got to go back to the beginning. You got to start over. You got to start with that pump.
Okay.
And I know my way around a cat pump, and I still don't fuck with them. I send them to guys that I trust, and I tell them exactly what I want.
Yeah.
And they do them for me, and then I don't have to lose any sleep. And then I time them and do all that when I get them back, you know. But I have I have an outside company that does all my tuning on those pumps. I do understand them, and I've tuned when I had 3 of my own B models. I did all the tuning on them myself, but so I obviously understand how all that works. But you know, it's just so much easier to sleep at night when you send them out to a guy that's all he does, and you know, and you can tell him, hey, I want this 15 over, or, you know, or I want this one to 20 over, or whatever you want to tell him, depending on what we're building. You know, when we're doing a like a more stockish build, we might only go 10 over or whatever it might be, you know, and we'll build it accordingly, right? We'll build our hard parts will go accordingly, you know. But whoever did your pumps, who fucked you over from beginning.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's somebody we've always used. I mean, they've been around a long time, and that's why I carried it to them. They've done them a long time, so that's, you know, I thought they were doing good, but you know, I guess not. And a buddy of mine mentioned a guy that does them in Montana. I don't know if that's the same guy you use or not. I think it's Montana. So I might try to just get that information and see about.
We used to send them out to Nebraska. The guys in Nebraska were fucking awesome, but around this that does them for us. So, anyway.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I appreciate it.
All right, sir. Well, good luck out. Good luck with it. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye. All right, there's 5 more callers. Guys, I'm not going to take any more calls, just so you know. I want to get to these 5 callers. I'd hoping to end the show with a little bit of time left over and kind of hang out with y'all in the comment section. Answer some questions there. So if you call now, I'm not going to take your call, just to let you know. But we do have these last 5 that have been hanging on and hanging on. Let's get right to them, see if we can burn them up. You're on the air. What can we do for you? Now you're on the air. What can we do?
Yeah. I just wanted to say real quick about that last guy, because I'm calling about a B model as well. I've had a lot of trouble with guys that'll talk about what they know what they're doing with the pump and with the timing. And I had not quite as hot as what he was getting, but I had one that the guy, kind of a shade tree mechanic, got in there and told me his magic trick for setting the timing. And I have really hesitate to talk to anybody about doing timing on one that does not have the timing indicator, because that's been a game changer on that one actually running correctly. And that might be something for him to. They're kind of hard to find somebody that's got one, but if he can get a hold of something, that might be somewhere to start for his problem. But I've got a 3ZJ to a 93, and I cannot get any power out of it at all. It's got 560,000 miles on an in-frame from Kenworth. I've got paperwork on it. I'm the 3rd owner of it. The 2nd owner is the one that got it built. Everything on the paperwork says that they did everything correctly. I haven't had to head off of it to check liners and pistons or anything like that, but everything I can see from the outside of the motor, they've done correctly. It just will not get out of its own way. I lose speed empty on hills, and I live in Iowa. I really don't have that big of hills. I've talked to several different guys, been in a couple different shops looking at pump, and we've been through the governor housing, we've been through the timing advance, dropped the transfer pump on it, been through filters and filter heads and fuel lines. I dropped the set of nozzles in it. That didn't change anything. I've, in my free time over the last 100,000 miles I've been driving it, I've been trying to, I'm not trying to burn the house down. I just wanted to not, it almost feels dangerous driving it down the road, how slow it is. We've checked everything on the air system. Everything's good on that. Kind of what I've come to is I need to put a pump on it, and I just want to kind of see if you agreed with that or if you had any other thoughts, because I feel like outside of putting a pump on it, I've looked at everything you can without putting a pump on it or in-framing it. It runs super smooth. There's no blow-by. I mean, it's got some oil consumption, but I'd say inside the block is pretty tight. I just wanted to see if you had anything
what was the
to look at other than just
what was the factory setting on it? What did it come? What did it come as? Some of the B models are
it's 425.
So it came.
Well, it's a 3ZJC model. It's 425. It does have the 16-4 aluminum pistons in it, which is why I don't want to do anything crazy with putting fuel to it and melting them, because it runs so tight otherwise. But
slow down a little bit here. If you have a B model that's running really good, and it just won't it won't get out of its own way going down the road, and it was set as a 4 1/4 from the factory, which, by the way, the 4 1/4 factory B model gets shit done. It gets shit done like that. You don't have to necessarily put the screws turn on the screws just to make it haul a load. Your 4 1/4 cat will get the job done, but it sounds like yours won't. So what it sounds like to me, these are very simple engines. Somebody said in the comments it needs to be troubleshot. Yeah, it needs to be troubleshot. It's absolutely right. But it most likely has something to do with the timing advance. It has something to do with the fact that it doesn't know that it needs to be giving you more fuel. There's something going on there, something with your, I can't tell you how many times I've fixed B models that came here because they had no power. And it's almost like every single time it's just the line going to the manifold that tells the diaphragm when it needs to add more fuel, because there's more air pressure going from that tube that goes, sometimes it's a hard line, sometimes it's a soft line going to the manifold. That can be and it wouldn't surprise me one bit to find out that's the problem with yours, right? So for some reason the engine's not knowing when you are stepping on the gas. It's giving fuel, but the air side isn't telling it, okay, to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That is deleted on both of my trucks. I've got the block up plates on those from Cat. So it does not have any of the AFC body or diaphragm or anything like that. And I don't have that issue on my my other truck.
I don't think that's how it works. I think maybe we're not talking about the same thing. Because the engine has to know when it needs
You're
to.
talking about. Sorry.
No, the engine has to know. It's no different than your B model. Let me simplify it for you. Your B model is kind of like your old 2-barrel carbureted, naturally aspirated engine that has the timing advance tube that goes around to the to the distributor cap to tell it when, where it's advancing at based on the fuel and all these. It has to know. It uses that air to know what's going on. I mean, nowadays we have computers with sensors that do the same thing, but that B model has to know what kind of manifold pressure that it has, right? It has to know.
Okay. I guess I'm just confused on why I've got two trucks that don't have it, and one runs fine, hauls the mail, gets 5 1/4 fuel mileage, and this one doesn't get out of its own way. I understand
because I think we're talking. I think we're not talking about the same thing. It has to know.
Are you referring to, it's like it comes off of the intake and it's kind of like a pre-vent tube that goes down to the the AFC body?
Yep.
Yeah, neither one of my trucks have that.
Okay, then I don't know. I don't know how that works then.
All righty, I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Well, I wanted to help him, but I don't. I don't understand that. I don't think I've ever seen a B model that doesn't have a way to tell what kind of air pressure that it has. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I certainly don't know everything. I certainly haven't seen everything on planet Earth either. Anyway, 4 more callers. Let's get to them. You're on the air. What can we do for you?
Yeah. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, man. Hit me with it.
So I got a N14, 98 N14. It's in the 99 Peterbilt 379. So basically, I'm always watching your videos, and you're always talking about like maintaining operating temperature. And I had a question basically about that to see if I am maintaining temperature or if I'm not. So basically, I bought this truck 2 years ago. It was already rebuilt when I bought it. So around the summertime, when it's about like 70 or 75 degrees outside. If I'm pulling a load, it'll stay, you know, between 180 to 190, you know, just around that range. It does fine. But then when the winter time comes up and falls below like 70 degrees, you know, in the 60s, the coolant temperature, the water temperature basically sticks at like 155, 160 empty, or even loaded actually. And then, you know, that's, you know, it's not even winter yet. And then if it gets to like, you know, single digits or in the 30s.
What kind of engine was it again?
It's an N14 Select Plus.
Okay, so
and then I'll have to, I'll throw like, if I throw a winter shield on there or the winter front, it'll go back up to like 175, 180 even in the winter. So like I can't run it without a winter front, I feel like, or it'll drop too low in temperature.
Okay, and some engines just have a hard time staying warm, right? But there is one factor there that you need to make sure isn't actually what's going on. And where you're reading is not where the ECM reads, and where you're reading could be way off, right? You need to have a computer hooked up to it. And see if they're the same.
Exactly. So I actually did that. I read online that these Peterbilt analog gauges are sometimes inaccurate. So I bought one of those scan gauges that connects to, you know, where your ELD connects to, and it was reading off the ECM, and it's about like a 5 to 10 temperature difference. The gauge is showing less than what it's actually at, but still, I feel like it stays between 155 and 160. Is that still a good operating temperature, or do I need to bring that up?
No, good operating temperature is above 180.
Okay, so I need to bring it up.
I mean, if you're certain that it's really operating there, I would try to see if I could bring it up, you know?
Okay, yeah, so try to get it to around 180.
Or above. Really needs to be going up to 220 occasionally.
Okay. I gotcha.
Yeah.
And then one other question,
start with your thermostat for sure. Start with your thermostat.
Start with the thermostat?
100% if you haven't done that.
Okay. I gotcha. And then how often I don't know if this is like a broad question, but how often would you run an overhead for owner operators? You know, like I run around 70 to 75,000 miles a year.
100,000.
100,000. Oh, okay. I gotcha. And one last question. Since I've bought this truck after its fresh overhaul, it was still burning about a gallon of oil every 10 to 11,000 miles. That's when I would do my oil change. And just now it you know, about 130, 140,000 miles after that overhaul, it actually stopped doing that. Like it's not burning any oil anymore.
That's not abnormal. We tell people when we rebuild engines here, you know, if you're burning a gallon of oil in the first 10 or 20,000 mile, you know, the first couple oil changes, please don't bother us because it's pretty normal. You know what I mean? If you're burning a couple gallons, then sure, bring it up and we'll talk about it. But yeah, we expect you to use a gallon or two in the first couple oil changes. It's just the way it works.
Okay. And then for the thermostats, is there like a certain temperature that you recommend? Like I've never had to do one to a motor yet. So is there like a certain temperature that you guys put in your motors when you rebuilt them, or?
We do 190s.
190. Okay.
All right, brother.
I gotcha. Okay. All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good luck with all that.
Yep. Have a good night.
Yeah, I was going to answer a comment here. A guy said, I have an 18-speed trans when I flip from low to high at grinds between fourth and fifth gear. What are your thoughts? But people already kind of answered that one for me. Actually, I've been drawing on the comment section quite a bit tonight. But yeah, for sure, that is your synchro is fucking shot. But I thought I would, and 3 callers left. We'll get to you. Going to come right back to the callers. But this is worth noting for guys, especially if you're getting into a truck, just getting into it. The way that happens, when you burn out that synchro, it almost exclusively happens from the driver doing that to the transmission. The way that you ruin that is when you're shifting down, guys will tend to take it out of gear when they're still cruising, 15, 20, 30, 25 miles an hour. And then they'll just go ahead and put it in the low side as they're coming to a stop. Every time you put it into the low side from the high side and you're above 15 miles an hour, and you don't realize that 15 miles an hour is not moving very fast at all. But 15 miles, anything above 15 miles an hour, when you put that, flip that thing into the low side and the synchronizer has to go down into the low side above 15 miles an hour, you are fucking that synchronizer up. And that is why your synchronizer starts to grind and have problems when later on, when you're trying to use it, when you're going high to low or whatever else, is because you ruined it by flipping into the low side above 15 miles an hour multiple times, or sometimes it just takes one time. But if you want your transmission synchro to last forever, the way that you make it last forever is you always make sure that you have dropped below 15 miles an hour before you put it back into the low side, and you won't have the problems this guy's having. I'm not trying to pick on you, but that's what this show is for, is try and help as many people as possible. Let's get right back to the callers. Yeah, somebody, Noah Cook said going from high to low too fast. It's not, and I'm sure he's trying to say the same thing I am, but don't confuse what he's saying there. It's not because you flip the switch fast. It's because you're going too fucking fast when you put it into low. I'm sure that's what he means as well. He seems to be a knowledgeable commenter. So back to the comments, or to the callers here. You're on the air. What can we do for you, brother?
Hey, I got two quick questions for you. One of them, got a 99 with a 12.7 Series 60 in it, and I've been told it's common, but it sometimes surges at idle, and I don't feel like it's good. It doesn't seem to affect it at all. You put any sort of load on it while it's idling, it'll quit surging. I was wondering if it is common, if you could tell me what's causing that. It's not tuned, nothing. It's got a factory 500 horse on it, factory rebuild, everything.
Which engine was it again?
It's just sometimes it surges at idle.
No, I heard that. What kind of engine was it again?
Oh, it's just a 12.7 Series 60.
Surging. So surging can be from quite a few different things. It's probably fuel related, though. You could have a weak injector. You could have a weak check valve. Do you ever have any problems starting it after it's sat all night?
No, and we've had the fuel system ran through deck. Nobody said anything, said it came out flying colors. The only thing that I have found weird is it's got two sets of fuel filters on it, and the first fuel filter, whenever I change fuel, be like half empty. I don't know if that's weird or not either.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of things it can be. It could be sensor related as well. It could be a boost pressure sensor or something like that that's not reading correctly when there's not enough air going against the diaphragm. I mean, that's just gonna take some damn troubleshooting, brother. That's kind of a tough one.
And that's the only sensor. That's the only sensor we have not changed. That might be a good start. And then my other question is, we got an 07 truck, and it's got a C15 Acer in it, and over the past 2 years, it's been hard on batteries, and it's not all of them. Only one battery, and it's always in a different spot, and I have checked grounds and added grounds and cleaned grounds on the truck side and on the AT side, and both of them are charging good. They're not charging, or wondering if you might know maybe that.
Have you ever changed all the batteries, or is it always just one battery at a time?
Yep, we've done all 4. We've done all the cables. Last time I just put all the cables too, going up to the starter, all of that. And again, it just happened a week ago. One battery went, and it's like the plates are breaking, because it gets hot and they'll start boiling from one battery.
Yeah. Have you recently done anything with the starter?
I think we put a starter on it 3 years ago. The only thing I've done is clean the connections and change wires.
All right. It sounds like you have a wire cross there on something, and it's feeding ground back to it and getting them hot.
That's kind of what I was. We'll see. I'll have to look at it sometime, but that's all I had. I can let the other callers get to you.
Yeah, you got some
Thank you.
difficult ones there, man. Sorry I wouldn't be able to help you more, but have a good night and good luck with it.
Yep, we'll see you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, the only time we ever have battery issues that are similar to his is when we have a wire cross. And sometimes you have a wire cross, especially if it's starter related, and it won't like just melt the batteries to the ground. It'll just get them hotter and shit. Overcharging. It could be overcharging. Yep, the difference between actually the somebody said the only difference between a 6NZ and MBN is the program, the turbo, and the cam, and injectors. But actually, the piston crowns are different as well. I'm like 99% sure. Anyway, but you're right on all the rest of it. I do know that. You're on the air. What can we do for you?
Yes, sir. I wanted to know, when you guys do the coding on the Elite builds or any of the builds, does that lessen the jaking power because there's less friction surface tension?
What you're thinking about? I mean, the quick answer is no, but I'm curious, why would you come to that conclusion? How would it lessen the jaking power? I mean, the way the jakes operate, it kind of has nothing to do with it. Where are you getting that conclusion from?
Well, actually, I'm not 100%. I'm not crazy knowledgeable about them. But one thing I noticed going from the older motors to the new motors is that at least from mechanics, I have heard that there's less friction on all the rolling parts. It's rollers and cams and not rockers, so there's less friction. I'm just talking about because I have an N14, and going from the N14 to like the ISX, pretty from what I was listening to your calls, is that the jaking stuff not the same as done in the turbo or something like that. Is that the same thing with the N14?
No, so your jaking on your ISX is reliant heavily on the VGT, which puts back pressure on everything. It's basically your third stage of jakes. I can't remember. A guy a little bit ago on the show explained how it works really well. I understand how it works, but I have a hard time explaining it. But your N14 operates completely different than that. It's gonna, it's running purely on the Jacobs power. It doesn't use the VGT because it doesn't even have one. It's totally different setup. So.
Okay. So maybe what I'm getting to, when you guys are coding everything, you're not doing the Jake. You're just doing everything in the head. You're not coding the Jake, the Jake setup.
No, because that's part of your valve train. Kind of has nothing to do with anything related to what we're doing with the head.
Oh, okay. So like I said, I'm not super knowledgeable, but when you say you're coding the valve, I'm thinking the valves are being coded, and that's what's being used in the Jake when you're jaking. So I'm thinking that the resistance is less because it's so slick. In other words, I guess you could say.
No, it wouldn't make any difference at all. And really, just so everybody knows, what we're trying to achieve by coating the valves isn't really the coating that's on the surface of the valve. That looks cool and all that. It's not really serving much purpose there. The coating is for the stem, is what we're really after, is for that, to eliminate any parasitic load on the stem, because the product that we're using is one of the slickest products known to man, especially in conjunction with oil, and it has oil shedding properties, so it's going to reduce your parasitic load down to nothing. So that's really what we're after, on coating the valves. It's not about the surface of the valve. We do the surface as well, because it does have extreme corrosion resistance and heat transfer resistance and all this other cool stuff. But that's not really what we're after by coating those valves. Or after the stem. If we were just coating the stem, that would be the goal we were trying to achieve. It just looks cooler to go ahead and do the entire valve, right? So that, it gives you this sex appeal, but that's not the goal we're after. Just to kind of clear that up, I should probably make a video about that the goal we're after with those coatings on the valves is for the stem. It's not, it's stem to guide lubricity that we're after there, and not necessarily anything to do with the valve seat or the valve face or anything like that. It just, there's arguments to be made that it could, obviously supplement some of you know, um, the longevity of the product and this and that, but it's not really why we're doing it. Does that make sense?
Okay, I got you. And if you could explain one more time, the last caller said something about, you were talking about the sprinklers. I've been driving 19 years, and when I learned how to drive, the first truck I learned how to drive was a 13 speed. And so they never explained anything about when you should or should not drop that splitter into the low range and what speed. It was never explained. So could you explain that one more time? So like with your downshifting, you're saying if you're downshifting, you can't be going more than 10 miles an hour when you drop down into that low gear, that low side?
Yeah. So I think I can say this very confidently, that the mass majority of transmission failures, most transmissions that are going into the shop, are actually failing from the synchronizer going out on it. And it's almost exclusively from exactly what I described. And it's because your synchronizer is only meant to be switched at under 15 miles an hour. Go ahead and drive your truck and shift up, and you will see that once you get it in miles an hour, that's beautiful. It's absolutely the same in reverse. When you're coming down, it doesn't want to go back into the low side until you're at 15 miles an hour or below. And that's a hard thing to do, because you're coming up to a stoplight or something like that, or a stop sign, you're slowing down, you've already shifted down, and you're probably at around 25 miles an hour, and you've dropped your RPMs quite a ways. Most guys just take it out of gear. They're not trying to go shift down and shift through the last 5 gears coming to a stop, right? Unless you're loaded really heavy or something and you have the need to do that. I would always, so the way that I kind of train myself is I would try to at least shift down to fourth over, and I could, and you have to drop your RPMs enough to be able to get into that gear. That's how I would always avoid being one of those guys that just, dropped her down. And so what guys will do is they'll put it in neutral. They're still cruising along 25 plus miles an hour, and they just put it in the low side and use the brake to come to the stop. And you can hear that synchronizer go, funk. You can hear it do it.
Yep.
And when it does that, it is fucking it up. It's fucking it up every single time. And you can only do that so many times, and you're going to be in the shop getting your synchronizer done. And how you know that you've taken it too far is when you go to shift that synchronizer, you're going into the high side or something, and it goes honk. It makes a bunch of grinding, and then it will catch. So.
Okay. So is it from being in neutral, or if you're coming from a gear to another gear?
It doesn't matter. If you put the synchronizer from high to low, above 15 miles an hour, you're damaging it. And the faster you're going, the more you're damaging it.
Gotcha. All right. I appreciate that explanation. It was never taught to me, and my truck actually does that now, but it's been doing it since 2010. But like you said, I never normally have to go down into that gear, but it does grind when you try to shift down. So I appreciate you explaining that to me. I'll let you get to the next call.
Yep. Have a good night, man, and good luck.
You too, man.
All right, I let one caller go there. We have the last caller on hold here. Somebody else called in. Sorry about dropping your call, brother. We're at the end of the show. I did want to hit the comment section a little bit before I go, so we're not taking any more calls. We'll take this last caller. Let's get it over with. Brother, you've hung on for a while. Let's see what you got to say. You're on the air. What can we do for you?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. I appreciate your show, first of all, but I got a 99 1LW that we'd rebuilt. Got a PDI stage 2 deal on it. Been on it for years. No problems. But here, since we rebuilt it recently, we get to 38 pounds of boost, and she loses everything. It'll pull up to 38 pounds, then it goes to 0. It won't go past 38 pounds of boost.
Is it wastegated? Have a wastegated turbo?
It's a PDI. No, it does not have a wastegate on it. It's a PDI stage 2 turbo, and we got the manifold on it as well, and they're ECM tuned. Never had a problem with it until just recently. Once we just rebuilt it, we put a IPD kit in the bottom and an Interstate McPhee head on it. Just kept having problems with cat heads, and we got to do something different. They're not working out for us.
So, literally, we have a truck here that actually left today, and it has been here for 4 or 5 days after we finished it because it's doing exactly the same thing. You take it out, and everything's fine. Once you get up to about 34 pounds of boost, boom, it just loses everything. And typically what's going on with that is your boost pressure sensor is no good, and the engine is basically just cutting everything off because it doesn't know what's going on. That's typically what the problem that you're having there.
Yeah, that sounds. And it's just got me scratching my head here a little bit. We pulling a heavy load the other day, and doing a fine job. She's doing a fine job. 38 pounds of coach, she just loses it.
Yeah, that's.
I'm not complaining about the 38 pounds. 38 pounds is good, but you don't want to lose it.
Right, but here's the thing you gotta think about. You're not having a mechanical problem, right? Because a mechanical problem doesn't show its face like you're talking about. This is some kind of ECM problem, and it's not the ECM. The ECM is not the problem. I'm not saying that, but the computer, for some reason, is panicking and cutting everything. And that pretty much narrows you down to the boost pressure sensor. That's pretty much about the only thing it can be. All right.
Yeah. And second question, I just got pushed into Cummins. We run 10 trucks, and we've been cat guys forever. Well, now we're pushed into Cummins. I got one that it just runs okay, but someone's telling me I think I got a leaky injector. Every now and then she'll put out some smoke like she ain't supposed to. And but any ideas on how to find out what injector it is, or
which engine was it again?
575,000 miles on a X15 2022. Never pulled that either.
Yeah, so your X15
never really impressed me on pulling.
Your X15, you're gonna have to hook a computer up to it. But yeah, it sounds like you have a bad injector, and it's probably bad all the time, right? It's probably not coming and going. It's probably just relative to whatever you're doing at that time. You know what I mean? So if you're just like cruising down the road,
Yeah.
all the other pistons are running so efficiently, the problem seems to go away. And then maybe you're starting and stopping, or you're pulling heavy, or you're lugging it down, or something like that. That's when it's showing its face, because you have a bad injector the entire time. And it's probably why you're so disappointed with its power band in the first place. It probably has one bad injector.
Yes, it has. We bought her new, and we never been impressed with the power. And I've talked to a lot of guys. I just figured I was just been a cat guy forever. I just figured it was a characteristic of it. But I've talked to a lot of guys, and they're like, no. My 565 will pull a 550 cat. I have to sit there and say, well, I don't think you're telling the truth, but okay.
They will.
But that's just based on my experience.
They will. Your 565, especially your 605 Cummins, get them in a hard pull with a cat. The cat's gonna do a good job for sure. But that Cummins is gonna win the day on that one. Ask me how I know. I pulled against hell of a lot of Cummins on the Alaska Haul Road, and if I didn't have it tuned up and hopped up and had things tweaked or just right, I wasn't gonna hang with the Cummins. They don't fuck around, man. They get shit done. And I'm a cat guy.
Yeah, nice to hear. But like I said, I haven't been impressed. Yeah, I haven't been impressed with this one, but maybe I just ain't got it right yet. With the 575 on the mileage, everybody's telling me I need to figure out rebuilding this thing. Am I there?
The average time that we see when we get into these engines, these X15s, is 300,000 miles. So when we see them with 500,000 miles, we consider that it did pretty good. It's fucking tragic, but yeah, you're probably getting really close. It's the damnedest thing about the Cummins. If any other engine, if anybody else ran a business model like Cummins does, they'd be out of business. But you don't have any options.
Right.
You have a Cummins and you have a Packard, and that's it, right? So, and who the fuck wants a Packard? So Cummins is able to dominate the market share, just due to default. If there was 4 or 5 other good engines out there competing against them, nobody on planet Earth would fucking have a Cummins. Nobody.
Yeah. Yeah, I just did a 605 and I got 900 and something on it. And they just couldn't believe that I hadn't touched it. And I hadn't touched it except the turbo. That's all I touched on it. And I went to trade it in. They wouldn't give me nothing for trading because of the mileage.
Here's the contrasting side of that, though. I give Cummins a hard time and this and that, but we see a lot of high mileage Cummins, and we see a lot of commonality in the high mileage Cummins, and what we see is guys that maintain them on a level that other people don't, right? And one of the most common things that we see is they're not deleted, first of all. The most of the high mileage Cummins we see have not had the emissions messed with, and these guys are usually changing air cleaners a lot. Every 100,000 or 200,000, they're taking the EGRs off, they're taking the intakes off, and they're getting all that cleaned. And we see these guys getting $1 million, $1.3 million, and stuff like that, pretty consistent. So, I think that the Cummins are capable of doing it. They just need people that really want them to get, they're willing to put in the effort to make them get that kind of mileage.
Well, we were told that the dealer we could go 20-25 on the oil. We always stuck with our cat 12,000 to change the oil. And like I say, the fuel filters and everything, probably every 6,000. And the air filters, all the time.
Yeah, I don't know why Cummins tells people to go that far on the oil. And they do. They tell people
I think they want you to rebuild their motors.
I don't know, man. I don't know if that's why, or I don't know why they tell people that, because do your oil samples and they're not talking about you running special oil. They're talking about you running like Valvoline Blue or something. Just they're talking about you running conventional oil. And I've done millions of oil samples, and conventional oil at 20,000 miles has had the fucking shit kicked out of it. Right? It's pretty much not good
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. Yeah, and the thing that I didn't understand, my brother's a diesel mechanic too, pretty knowledgeable guy, but he explained the EGR system to me. And I've always known that heat breaks oil down, and then you're going to start throwing soot in there. You got to get that oil out as soon as you can. You can't go 20,000 miles with that oil.
If you're gonna, then
It's
at
just
least
going to break down on you.
if you're gonna at least run an oil bypass. Run an oil bypass.
Yeah.
Your regular oil filter is designed to pass somewhere 20, and some of them are as high as 40 micron. And I think I talked about this earlier in the show. What people don't understand is your oil filter has to be able to do that because you have high volume and high pressure coming into it. You can't have a 5 micron oil filter, right? Because what you would end up with was no oil pressure. So whereas with an oil bypass, you're able to put in oil at a very slow rate, and you can take those bypass filters, go all the way down to 1 micron. Well, 40 micron, guys, we're talking freaking chunks of carbon, that you can see with the naked eye that are going through making it through your oil filter and whatnot. So, if you get an oil bypass, that thing is circulating your oil all day long, and it's going to remove everything. And then you can start taking your oil out much further, much longer. But just off the regular stock filter at the how many microns they filter, fucking, I call major bullshit, taking 40,000 miles on freaking oil. And it's not because
I'm not going to do it.
Right. It's insane.
It's just cheap insurance, if you ask me. I bought my first truck in '94, and it's just changing your oil is not I guess some guys, they'll go with a business model and say, well, if I can do this, I save this much money. I say, you ain't saving nothing.
Yeah.
You ain't saving nothing. I also run a Lucas fuel and oil additive, but the one product I've been using a lot with these gas motors is arch oil. Real good product. I don't know if you ever looked any of that up.
No, but I'll check it out.
It's a good product if you ever get a chance. Yeah, but I don't want to take up any more of your time. Appreciate your time. Thanks for all the advice. Have a great day. God bless.
Yep. Have a good night, man.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
All right. We've had several people call in, guys. We're not taking any more calls. We're already past the time of the show. I can't stay here all night. I do appreciate you calling in. You'll have to call next week. I will be available. I plan to have a guest next week. I plan to have a guest for the next 3 or 4 shows. Ryan Walter, I've seen this comment in several of my videos, so I'm wondering if it's the same guy. He says, why would oil after 150 hours still be clean? Shouldn't oil clean the soot and carbon out of the engine block running at 2WS? The purpose of oil isn't to clean soot and carbon out of the engine. It's not its purpose at all. You don't want to have any soot and carbon in your oil. If your oil's staying fairly clean, that's a good thing, right? It's not a sign of the oil's not doing its job or anything like that. All that means is that you have a really good seal on your rings to liner seal is very, very good. That is a really good sign to have that you're not putting a lot of combustion gas passing down in the case where you're getting that carbon from. You're not carbon and soot in your oil from the oil doing its job of cleaning out the engine. That's not the case at all. You're getting all that carbon and soot from combustion gas escaping around the rings and going down into the crankcase, right? That's why I need to get this testing done for my rings and start making them for everything, because it eliminates basically most of that combustion gas is able to get down in there, and your oil will last way longer. And all of us will have this guy's problem where our oil is clean all the time. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Did you test mobile Delvac? Yes, I did test mobile Delvac. As you guys know, we tested a lot of oils, and of course, there's always a method to my madness. I'm working on developing an oil product. I want a engine break-in oil because there's just not any good options out there. The only thing you have is John Deere. It's so hard to get your hands on, and it's very, very expensive. So, I plan to get some competition for John Deere. And we're working on coming up with our own semi-synthetic, but I want a true semi-synthetic not the rip-off semi-synthetic that everybody markets. I want a semi-synthetic that is 50% guaranteed to be 50% uh, synthetic. So that way the price point is achievable and we have a quality oil. Did you test AMSOIL? Yes, I tested AMSOIL. If you guys are wondering, AMSOIL beat all the other oils by far. Lots of oils did really, really well. If you guys, I mean, the videos are there. Go watch the videos. But AMSOIL by far was the best oil. There's no question about it. The problem with AMSOIL, guys, is the price point on AMSOIL makes it like out of touch. It's out of reach for anybody to use on a regular basis, right? We're all working on margins here, and AMSOIL prices themselves out of any of us being able to use it. That's the shitty part about AMSOIL. So that's actually who I've been talking with mainly. Mobile is the other. No, not Mobile. Rotella, Shell, and AMSOIL, the two companies that I've reached out to and talked the most with about helping me develop a product. AMSOIL's shown the most interest, and AMSOIL has talked to me quite a bit about helping me produce a 50% semi-synthetic. I don't think I need a full synthetic. People are saying full synthetic. You can do, the problem with semi-synthetics isn't that they're not good. It's that they're purposely made not good because there's no standard. The government doesn't have any standard for how much synthetic has to be in a semi-synthetic for them to market it as a semi-synthetic. So what does everybody do? They make a semi-synthetic that basically has no synthetic oil in it. That's the problem with it. We've done some testing on true semi-synthetics. I'm not going to tell you guys who has a true semi-synthetic, which is 50%. But I've done some tests on it, and it's vastly better than any conventional oil out there. Vastly better than most of your your full synthetics. It's vastly better than most of your full synthetics because those are fractured hydrocarbons that are not true full synthetics like your natural gas full synthetics like the AMSOIL would be, right? So if you were to take a conventional oil and make it a half semi-synthetic with a true full synthetic, right? You dilute it down, you're still going to have a vastly superior oil over today's like T4. You're going to outperform a T4 100%, and you can bring that price point down where people can afford to buy it. So your price point's down there or I meant T6, sorry guys. So what I'm trying to achieve is coming down to a price point of something like T6, but having a product that vastly superior to something like T6. Does that make sense? It can be done, but the only way it can be done is with a true full synthetic, and you're not ripping everybody off and just telling them it's semi-synthetic because you put a drop in a barrel because that's literally the standard for how you can market it. You could put one dropper full of synthetic oil in a 55-gallon drum, and you could technically market it as a semi-synthetic. It's absolute bullshit. So is their commercial grade says over 50% synthetic worth running? You're talking about AMSOIL? Yes. AMSOIL has the best semi-synthetic on the market. That's a fact. There's this a huge percentage of it is synthetic. So why not Sinopec? Not gonna lie, Sinopec has been talking to me about it as well. They are Shell and Rotella and Sinopec are most people don't know this, but they are a joint venture company. So if you're talking to Rotella, you are talking to Sinopec. So yes, I have talked to representatives from Sinopec quite a bit, especially since I love Sinopec, been using them forever. You can call Sinopec and order oil from and say, hey, I want American product, not Singapore product or whatever. And they'll send you their barrels in a gray barrel instead of a red and white barrel. And it's the exact same oil, comes out of the exact same oil field, but it is technically Shell's oil. So kind of, all that stuff's just fucking nonsense, really. So you pay an extra, and the margin on it's really similar. So you pay an extra like $30 a barrel to get the American made product, and it literally comes out of the exact same oil field, coming out of the same derrick, same everything, because they're a joint venture company in the oil field that they're in. So it's kind of just goofy, man. All that stuff's goofy. I got a 6NZ with an intermittent shake. Engine speed sensor message popped up. Would it be that? So when you get an engine speed sensor code, you're almost always dealing with a cam sensor, but it could be the crank sensor on that engine. So it's either your cam or your crank sensor, brother. One of those two is not working properly, and it's probably the cam sensor. But anyway, guys, yeah, how do you feel about marine cams? Noah Cook answered that the best, I think. I don't think that marine cams have any place in the on-highway engines. That's my personal opinion. They're meant to be at a constant RPM, like Noah Cook points out. Can you tune an engine to run a marine cam? Yeah, sure you can. It's not meant for it. It's not meant for those variable speeds. I don't. They're certainly not necessary. It's just what everybody tells themselves they got to have. How long have you seen rings not seat in a engine C15? Man, you only have a finite amount of time to seat the rings before you're fucked, basically. But that being said, we have had engines here that were experiencing crankcase pressure post rebuild, and we went back in with a good break-in oil like John Deere, and went out and ran the shit out of them again, and were able to eliminate blow-by problems on engines that had 7,000-8,000 miles on them. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's impossible to seat the rings on an engine that it already has some miles on it, and it doesn't seem that they'd seated because we've done it. But the odds are pretty small. I've also had engines that we've had to tear back down and throw a re-ring kit in because they just were experiencing a lot of combustion gas going to the crankcase. You open them up and everything's fine. That's the craziest thing about liners that didn't get broke in properly. You open them up and they look fucking mint inside. It's just it's really depressing to redo an engine that looks so minty fresh inside. So, but anyway, guys, I probably better wrap it up. It's getting late. I see the old lady's texting me. She's probably telling me show's over, come home, and I'm nuts. So I probably better wrap it up. I had a lot of fun tonight, guys. You guys have been a great audience. Really appreciate you joining me. These things would be pretty lame if nobody came. So appreciate all you guys. It was good to see Matt Whipple tonight. American Iron, good to see you. American Iron guy. I don't know who he is, but he has been up in my comment section since I got on social media. I've always appreciated him. Sometimes he's critical of me, but for the most part, he's been a friendly dude. So, you never know who it is you're interacting with, but you start to recognize people over the years like, man, that guy's been interacting with me forever, and he's one of them. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you. I'll see you next week. We're either going to have Tim from Excalibur on or James from Trademark or Charlie from Pure Diesel Repair. All three of them have said they'll come on. Also, Rob from Highway and Heavy Parts is anxious to come on as well. So we're going to start having some guests again, and starting next week, we're going to have somebody on for sure. Might be Rob because we have our product line coming out. He'd probably be a good guy to come on. we might have a lot of questions and stuff about the product line. So probably have him on, and then we'll move on to the other guys. Have James on, have Excalibur on, and then we're also going to have some special guests on because we have another. I said this at the beginning of the show, guys. We have a new product line about to come out that has nothing to do with the other product line that we've been developing, and that is going to be for all of your engines that are smaller. It is all of, it's going to be your graders, dozers, light plants, skid steers, everything, right? And there are going to be the same thing, coated kits, all that kind of stuff, coated turbos, coated manifolds. We're going to delve into the 5.9, 7.3s, so some of your light duty pickup engines, but a lot of your medium duty commercial, your C7s and under. So we're going to go hard on that stuff. So that'll be pretty exciting. The owner of the company that we're partnering with on that, or doing a joint venture on, they're going to fly here and come on the show with me. So that'd be kind of how we announced to everybody what we got going on. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of exciting stuff going on. I also got tables at Matt's. I'm pretty excited about that. Not tables. I got a whole booth at Matt's. I am going to be at Matt's this year. That's going to be in March. I'm hoping you guys all come out and see me there. That's going to be a lot of fun. I got a booth. We're going to bring an elite build down there, show it off, and we're going to fill the booth with all of our products that we have coming out, of course. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then I'm mostly excited about being able to come down there. And it's going to be a place where people can, I can meet a lot of people that I've been interacting with over the years. It's going to be great. I know a hell of a lot of people go there. So it's going to be fun to meet a lot of people I've never met before and be in a place where people can actually come meet me. So it'll be a lot of fun. So anyway, guys, I will talk to you soon. I appreciate all of you. Love you long time. See you next week.